Hello everyone, I'm going to start making some election prediction videos, or essentially just predict how the election would be if it happened today. I'm going to start with the presidential election, which will be this video. I'm going to do a Senate map later on this week probably, um, and then I can look into deeper analysis of like the governor's race or the House of Representatives, whatever you guys would like to see. I can definitely look into that. But of course, we're going to start with the one that seems to be on everybody's mind right now, and that is the presidential election. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the electoral map here, and we're going to go state by state pretty much and explain why states are characterized the way they are, who I think is going to win them if the election were held today. Doesn't mean that that's the way the state will vote on November 3rd. Just if I'm just trying to get a pulse on how the country is today. So I'm actually going to start here by going through and characterizing safe states for Donald Trump. These are states that he is going to win and win big. 15% or more is how I'd characterize that. So that's going to be this shade. Obviously, a lot of rural states fall into that category. A lot of states that he won by greater than 15% in 2016, I'm not going to yet characterize in that safe margin because there are polling data that shows those states narrowing up. So those would be states like Utah, which could definitely get even more narrow if like Mitt Romney endorsed Joe Biden. But I don't think that's going to happen. Romney said he's not going to endorse anybody in this race, so we're just going to accept that as fact. And of course, that hasn't happened yet. Montana could get narrow. They've got a competitive Senate race. Same with Kansas, but still safe for Donald Trump pretty much. But in that likely margin, so that's going to be about 5 to 15% margin of victory for Donald Trump. Same in Missouri, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama should be safe. Missed that. Indiana is going to be more narrow than it was in 2016, but I still think Trump will hold on to a 10% or greater margin of victory here in the state. We are far more polarized than we were in 2008 when Barack Obama narrowly carried Indiana. South Carolina also in the likely margin. Same with Alaska. That's pretty much it that I'm going to put on the map so far for Donald Trump. I'm going to switch over to Joe Biden's numbers here, and he is safe all down the West Coast. Oregon may get a little narrow, but I still think it'll go above 15%. Donald Trump really has no shot there. Hawaii, safe. Illinois, safe. Chicago basically runs that state. DC, Maryland, Delaware, Joe Biden's home state. New Jersey, Connecticut, pretty much all of the Northeast goes to Joe Biden by safe margins. Maine's first congressional district does. I'm going to go ahead and Maine at large is going to be a likely characterization. Again, 5 to 15%. Donald Trump really is not going to make it very competitive, but below that safe margin. Um, you never know. New Mexico, likely. Virginia, likely. Colorado, likely. All three of those states. Um, Pretty safe for Joe Biden. Pretty safe bet that he's going to win those states. Um, but well within that 5 to 15% threshold. Nevada, I'm going to have as a likely. That could definitely, or sorry, as a lean, that could definitely get into likely later on. We just don't really have the polling data in Nevada for me to go ahead and move that into the likely characterization. So the rest of these states are probably states that are going to be super focused on during the election. Minnesota, I'm going to go ahead and put in the likely column. It's a state that Republicans haven't carried in decades. Um, Even in 1864, when Ronald Reagan won every state, the only state he lost was Minnesota. So that's still probably, even though it's getting a lot of attention from the Trump campaign, still in the likely margins for Joe Biden. So yeah, the rest of these states are all swing states in this election. So I'm just going to go west to east, go through each of these, explain how I'd characterize them if the election were today. So we'll start in Arizona. That's going to be a lean margin for Joe Biden. This would be a flip from the 2016 election when Donald Trump won the state. The state's usually pretty reliable to Republicans, but it is getting very close, especially with changing demographics. Former Republican Senator Jeff Flake just endorsed Joe Biden. Of course, we have those Donald Trump comments about John McCain that were all leaked. Stuff like that is starting to make the state more blue, at least in a presidential level with Donald Trump. It doesn't mean it's going to stay solidly blue forever, but with Donald Trump at the top of the ticket, it looks like it's going to go to Joe Biden, but obviously still close. So this lean characterization is 2 to 5% roughly for a margin. Texas, everybody's talking about Texas. It's going to be close. I still got it in a lean margin for Donald Trump. We're not there yet to the point where the Democrats can flip Texas, even with changing demographics, even with suburban collapse by the Republicans in places like Dallas and Houston. Still, it's a solidly Trump and Republican state. By 2024, 2028, 2032, those elections will definitely be more competitive. It's just not quite there yet. We'll go up the plains. Nebraska's 2nd district. As of now, I'm going to give that a tilt characterization for Joe Biden. So that's within 2% margin of victory for him. That's the Omaha area. So it's very different from the rest of the state. Trump won it in 2016, so this is a flip, but it's definitely a winnable area for the Democrats. Barack Obama won Nebraska's 2nd district in 2008 as well. Iowa and Ohio, I'm going to do both of those right now as lean Republican states. Closer margins than they were in 2016, but still, this area is becoming more solid for the Republicans. Ohio used to be the ultimate swing state. Democrats are starting to fade out there. So it could get closer, but it's probably still in the Trump column if we were to vote today. I'm going to come back to these 3 states last. We'll drop down to Florida here. We'll go with a lean margin for Joe Biden. Donald Trump's numbers slipping drastically in Florida. It was already close in the 2016 election. He had very little margin for error. Joe Biden is just making up a bunch of ground there. Actually, the 65 plus vote is swinging big time for Joe Biden from what it was in 2016 when Trump won that demographic. Biden is now winning national polling averages of seniors by 12%, which is just incredible. Trump's biggest margin or biggest demographic is 45 to 64. So that's huge numbers for Joe Biden. He's taking away Trump's largest voting bloc from 2016, and in a state like Florida, that's going to be very beneficial to him. Georgia, also going to be more competitive than usual. I'm still going to keep that in the lean Republican margins. Atlanta kind of runs the state, but there's still enough of a rural presence for Donald Trump there. But if the suburbs continue to get competitive, obviously inner city Atlanta votes Democratic reliably. But for now, it's still in the hands of Donald Trump. North Carolina, I'm going to keep in the hands of Trump at a tilt margin. There's a Senate race there where the Democrat is probably favored to win at this point, but I still think that Trump's got his base riled up in North Carolina, especially after he just had a rally there last week. It's going to be another close state, probably the closest state of the election, in my opinion. But for now, I'm going to keep it in the Trump column, but that could definitely change. Up in the Northeast, New Hampshire goes to Joe Biden. I'm going to keep that at a likely margin. Trump's made some comments about New Hampshire in the past that just aren't great and alienated a lot of voters there. Something about how like people in New Hampshire are on drugs or whatever. He made that comment in the 2016 primary. So we'll see if that still has an impact. But it's usually a reliable Democratic state on the presidential level. And this year doesn't look like it'll be any different. That officially puts Joe Biden at 273 electoral votes. He needs 270 to win the election. So this makes him the president of the United States. Maine 2nd district, I'm going to have as a lean Donald Trump. Trump won it by almost double digits in 2016, and that was a flip from Obama's era when Obama won it twice. It'll get more narrow. I still think that Trump has that rural edge, especially in Maine, to give him that one electoral vote, while the rest of the state goes reliably for Joe Biden. So that leaves these 3 states here in the Rust Belt: Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. These 3 states are all usually Democratic states at a presidential level. Of course, Donald Trump flipped all 3 of them very narrowly in the 2016 election. So not much margin for error for Donald Trump in these 3 states. As of now, I'm going to characterize all 3 of them with a lean Joe Biden margin. I think Wisconsin will be the most competitive out of the 3. Pennsylvania is Joe Biden's unofficial home state. It's where he was born. Of course, he represents Delaware and or represented Delaware in the Senate. Currently lives in Delaware, um, but he was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania, so that's got some advantage as well. Michigan will probably be the least competitive out of these three races, but I mean, Trump only won these states by a percent or less on average in 2016. So again, not much margin for error with the coronavirus and everything that's going on. He's probably lost enough of those voters for me to characterize those in the Joe Biden column for now. Obviously, a lot can change from now to election day. Perhaps Donald Trump gets a vaccine, takes all the credit for that, and that would actually help his polling standing, help him with voters if he were to be able to get a vaccine out. But we don't know how likely that is. Um, but like in 2016, Hillary Clinton had a lead in the polling averages until right up to the election, and then of course Donald Trump flipped the election on election night and shocked everybody. That could happen again in 2020, but Joe Biden's national polling lead is about twice as big as Hillary Clinton's was in 2016. So Trump will have to make up more ground this year than he did back then. But yeah, this is a modern electoral blowout, frankly, here. And I mean, we could even see North Carolina, Texas, Georgia, Ohio, Iowa, all of those states are competitive. Those could even all flip back to Joe Biden. Um, but for now, this is how I'm going to keep it. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video and if you want to see more, again, like Senate elections, I'm probably going to put out a second update to this video probably a week out before the election, just another showing where America stands. I'll do a Senate. I want to look at the governor's race perhaps, but maybe not in a video format because, of course, we had that new poll come out showing the Libertarian candidate at 24% for governor. So that definitely deserves an analysis. But if you guys made it to the end of this video, thank you for sticking around. This has always been a huge passion of mine, and this election has been crazy. So I really enjoyed making this video, and I really enjoy making stuff like this for everybody. A lot of people don't really understand the whole electoral dynamic across the whole country. They just base it on like, well, I saw a bunch of Trump signs out in Indiana, so he's going to win the election, right? Not necessarily. So I hope this video is informal or informational for all of you guys. But yeah, let me know if you guys want to keep seeing this. Maybe share it around, show it some love, just to show that you guys enjoyed this and want me to keep doing it. But yeah, thank you.